Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to build a sleek and modern car landing page using just HTML and CSS, no frameworks. We will create a use section and style a bold call to action button. Whether you are a beginner or you've never written any HTML and CSS before, it doesn't matter. We are going to start from scratch and we're going to build this together step by step. No step skipped. And the navbar is going to have two items. First of all, it's going to have this logo right initial at the top left corner right here. Now at the top right corner, we're going to have this navigation links with this cool hover effect right here. You're going to learn how to do this hover effect in this video. And in the hero section, we're going to add this text drive into the future and this p text right here. And lastly, we're going to have this beautiful call to action button right here with this smooth transition. Now, if you are excited about this video, smash on the like button and leave a comment below. It's really going to help the channel a lot. You can basically consider it as a way of supporting the channel. And also, if you enjoy helpful web development content like this, consider subscribing and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss my next video. Alright, let's dive right in. So I already have my index.html file created, and in my index.html file right now, I'm importing front on some CDN link with this line of code right here. And I'm using this link right here to connect this HTML file to this style.css file right here. And inside this style.css file, I have these basic styles right here. Up here, I'm importing Google font from Google, and right here, I'm applying that font to my web page, Poppins. And also I have an images folder right here that has this image right here, image.jpg. Now this is the image I'm going to be making use of for our image background. I'm going to get rid of that, close this up. Now first I want to create a div tag right here. I want to give this div tag a class name of container. Then I'm going to copy that class name. I'm going to go to my style.css file. Now to target that class, I'm going to put in a dot and I'm going to paste in that class name right here. First of all, I'm going to give this container a height of 100 VH. And that simply tell the container to take 100% viewport height. That means it's going to occupy 100% of the viewport of the device the website is being viewed on. So next, I want to say have a width of 100%. Then next, I want to add our background image. So I'm going to say background. I'm going to make use of a linear gradient. For our linear gradient, I'm going to make use of this color right here. And I'll put that color right here again. And after that, I'm going to add my background image. So I'm going to say URL. Go into the images folder, then access image.jpg. That's this images folder right here. Then access this image.jpg. So I'll close this up. I'll save them. Now to actually view this application in a web page, I'm going to click on Go Live because I have Visual Studio Code Live Server extension installed in my Visual Studio Code. Now if you don't have that installed and for some reason you don't want to install Live Server on your Visual Studio Code, or you're not making use of Visual Studio Code, so you can go to your file manager where you have the index.html file. You're going to right click on that. Then you're going to go to open with. You can open with any web browser. I'm going to open with Microsoft Edge. And you can see the web page right now. You can see that image overlay right here with our nice background image. But I don't want to do it this way. I actually want to use Live Server extension to run mine. So I'm going to click on Go Live. And then it's going to open it just the same. I'm going to get rid of this first one. Now you can see that this image is not at the center of the web page. It's actually stretched out and it's not at the center. And let's actually make this image look better. So first off, I'm going to say background size. I'm going to use cover, then background position. I'm going to say center. And lastly, background repeat. I'm going to say no repeat. Save that and check it out. And you can see the image is actually looking better. The image overlay is actually looking way better. So next, we're going to start working on our navigation bar. Now for the navigation bar, it's going to have two items in it. First of all, it's going to have this logo that's going to be on the left hand side of the nav bar, and it's going to have these nav links right here that's going to be on the right hand side of the nav bar. So let's start working on it. So I'm going to go to my index.html file. I'm going to create a nav tag. Now inside this nav tag, I'm going to create a p tag. Now I don't have a logo for this website, so I'm going to make use of a p tag. I'm going to call this Wide Nation. Then I'm going to add a UL tag that's going to represent our links. And this UL tag is going to have a class name of nav links. Okay. And inside this UL tag, we're going to have an li tag. Now each li tag is going to take an anchor tag. That's a link that's not going to point anywhere. But the title of this one is going to be home. The next one is going to be about. The next one is going to be contacts. Next one is going to be explore. And the last one is going to be login. Let's check out the output. Now you can see that we have those items right here on the left hand side right here. We have those items right here. Now let's start styling them up. So I'm going to go to my style.css file. Down here, I'm going to say nav. That's this nav tag right here. This nav tag right here. This nav tag. I'm going to give it a display of flex. Now what that is going to do, is going to arrange the items horizontally. Instead of them to be arranged vertically down, it's going to arrange them side by side. That's what that's going to do. And I'm going to give it a justify content or space between. Now it's basically going to do what the name says. It's going to add a space between them. So if I check the output, you're going to see that the logo, the Wide Nation text is right here, while the links are right here. Now I want the navigation bar to always be fixed at the top of the web page. So I'm going to give it a position. Then I'll say fixed. I want it to be at the top of 0 at the top of the web page. Then I want to give it a width of 100%. Now what that fix is going to do is it's going to ensure that our nav bar is always going to be at the top of the web page. So when we scroll the contents of the web page, this nav bar will always be at the top of the web page. Next, I want the nav bar to have a height of 60 pixels. I want to give it a background color so that we can actually see it. So I'll give it a background color of white. Let's check it out. You can see that our navigation bar has a background of white. Then our finished project, you're going to notice that these links right here, they don't start at the extreme end. Same thing with this logo. It does not start at the extreme end. They start from somewhere around here, and this one starts somewhere around here. So to actually achieve that, we're going to give this nav bar a padding. So I'm going to say I want to give this navigation bar a padding, top and bottom. I will say 0. Then left and right, I'll say 8%. I'll save that. Then you can see that there's now a padding applied on the left hand side and on the right hand side of this navigation bar. So next, I want the items to be aligned center. I want this Wide Nation. I don't want it to be at the top, flex that. I want it to be at the center. So I'm going to give the nav tag, I give a flex display, align items, I'll say center. Now you're going to notice that that logo is now at the center right here. Now let's style up this logo. First of all, I'm going to get rid of that background color I added to it. We already know the height of this navigation bar. Then I'm going to add a class name to this p tag. I'm going to say I want to add a class name called logo. I head back to my style.css file. And down here I'm going to say nav.logo. Now first of all, I'm going to give this logo a color of white, a text color of white, a font weight of 600, and a font size of 1.6 rem. And you can see that the text is actually looking better now. It actually looks like a logo. Now let's start styling our nav links. Now to do that, I'm going to target this UL tag. As this class name I added to this UL tag, nav links. So I'm going to go back. So I'm going to say nav links. Now I want to give the item a display of flex. Now what that's going to do is that instead of the item being arranged vertically, they are going to be arranged horizontally like this. Now next, I want to get rid of these little bullet points on this list item. So I'm going to say I want this UL tag to have a list type of none. Save that, and you can see that the bullet points are gone. So next, I want to actually style the individual links right now and get rid of this ugly underline on the links. So to do that, I'm going to copy this. I'll paste that down here. Then I'm going to target the anchor tag. That's the anchor tag right here. That's this anchor tag inside these links right here. These anchor tags, I want to target them. So first of all, I want to give them a text decoration of none. That's going to get rid of that underline on the links. Next, I want to give each of the link a color of white. Save that. Let's check it out. And you can see that each of the link now has a color of white, and that little underline on it are gone. Now we have to add a margin to them because they don't look good like this. So I'm going to add a margin to them. So down here, I'm going to say margin. Now I want the margin at the top and the bottom to be 0. So I'm going to say 0. Then margin left and right, I want it to be 5 pixels. And you can see there's now a margin between each of the links. Now the next, I'm going to add a padding. Top and bottom, I'm going to say 10 pixels. Then left and right, I'm going to say 25 pixels. So the next thing I want to do is that when someone hovers on these links right here, I want them to have like a background of white and a text color of black. So let's work on that. So I'm going to say on hover of this link. When someone hovers on this link, I want this link to have a background color of white and a color of hash 111111. Save that. I want to hover on this link. You're going to see it's going to have a background color of white and a text color of black. So I'm going to add a border radius to this link so that it's actually circular at the edges. So I'm going to say border radius. I'll say 30 pixels. That is way better. Now we can actually add a transition to this link so that the hovering effect is going to actually look better. It's going to actually transition when you move from one link to the other. So in this anchor tag, I'm going to say transition 0.7 seconds is in out. Save that. Now you're going to notice this smooth transition right here when you hover on the link, looking really, really good. Now the next thing we're going to work on is that we want this login link to always be like this. So we're going to give it its own unique class. Now I'm going to head to my index.html file. Now for this login link, I'm going to give it a unique ID. I'm going to say ID. I'm going to call it login link. I'm going to copy that ID. Head to my style.css file, scroll down. Now when you're making use of class names to style HTML elements, you put in the dot, then you're going to paste in the class name. But with ID, you don't use dots. You are going to use the pound sign, pound, then the ID name. Then I want to give this same styles. This one has. So I'm just going to copy that styles. Now I'm going to paste that styles right here. And for this login link, I just want to increase the font width. So I'm going to say font width. I want to use 600. And with that, we are basically done styling up these nav links right here. So we can start working on the content of the web page. Now for the contents of the web page, we're going to have an H1 text that's going to say drive into the future. We're going to have a P tag that's going to just basically output this text right here. And we're going to have a call to action button that's going to say explore features with this nice transition right here. So let's start working on that. So I'm going to head back to my index.html file. Now I'm going to wrap this up. I'm done with this now. So down here, I'm going to create a div. I'm going to give this div a class name of hero content. And inside this div, we're going to have a H1 text that's going to say drive into the future. And after that H1 text, we're going to have a P tag. I'll just paste the contents of the P tag right here. I'll format the document. Now after this P tag, we're going to have an anchor tag. And this anchor tag is not going to go anywhere, so I'm going to put a hash here. And this anchor tag is going to take 2 span. The first span is going to be explore features. Then the second span is going to take an icon. It's going to have a class of fast, far, arrow, right. And this icon right here, I'm getting it from this CDN link right here. This CDN link that we had at the top of our HTML file right here. This CDN link right here. That's where we are getting this link from, because the CDN link is going to actually import font awesome icons to our project. So I'm going to save that and head back to the web page. And then we're going to see that all the items of our web page are at the top of the web page, right? And drive into the future and explore features right here. What we want is that we want the hero content to be around here at the center right here. So let's start styling them up. So first off, I want to copy that class name. So I want to copy this hero content class name. I want to head to my style of CSS file. Now down here, I want to paste that class right here. First, I want to give it a height of 100 VH, a display of flex, a align items of center, and a justify content of center. I'll save that. And the reason I added a height of 100 VH is that now if I don't add a fixed height to this, I will not be able to center this hero content vertically center. Horizontally, I can center it, but vertically, I cannot center it. So when I go back to the web page, you can see that these items are the center of the web page. But if I take off these heights of 100 VH, you're going to notice that it's not going to be at the center of the web page. Vertically, it's not going to be centered, but horizontal is going to be centered, but vertically it's not going to be centered. So to actually center an item vertically, you need to add a fixed height to it. In this case, I'm going to give it a height of 100 views. That's 100 viewport heights. Now you're going to notice that the items of our hero content are arranged horizontally, not vertically, but we want them to be arranged vertically. That's because when you give a container a display of flex, all the items of that container are going to be arranged horizontally. Right here, when we give this navlinks container a display of flex, all the items will arrange horizontally. Same thing with this one. So, but we want it to have a display of flex, but we don't want it to be arranged horizontally. So to solve this problem, we're going to say it's going to be flex, but we want to give it a flex direction of column. And when I save that, I'm going to notice that the items are still going to be flexed. They're going to be centered, but they're going to have a flex direction of column. They're going to be arranged vertically. So next, we want our items to be centered vertically. Like right now, they are centered vertically, but horizontally, they are still centered. But horizontally, we want them to be arranged to the left-hand side right here. So instead of align items of center, I'm going to say align items. I'm going to make use of flexed starts. And that's going to ensure that it's going to start right here. So I'm going to give the hero content a padding, top and bottom of 0, left and right of 8%. And that's going to ensure that we apply similar padding to our hero content as our navigation bar. And the items of our hero contents are too close to each other, so we have to add like a margin between them. So I'm going to say I want to give this hero content a gap 50 pixels. I'm going to save that. Again, there's not a gap between them. There's not margin between them. So next, I want to style this H1 text. Let's drive into the features. So I want to go back to my style of CSS file. Now here, I'm going to say dot hero contents. I'll just target the H1 tag in there. I want to give this a color of white. Then a font size of 4M. That's looking really good. Now next, we have to style this p tag right here. So I'm going to target the p tag. Then I'm going to say hero content. Then I'll target the p tag in there. I want to give it a font size of 1.4 rem and a color of white. Yeah, that's way better. But the color of white is too bright. For the p tag, I don't want it to have this bright white color. I want it to have a kind of silver color. So instead of giving it a color of white, I want to give it a color of CCC. And this is like a silver color. And this is way better. Like it's actually cooler than this bright white right here. Now I don't want this p tag to stretch up to this point. So I'm going to give it a width of 80%. Yeah, it's better this way. So next, we have to start styling this call to action box, this explore features link right here. So first of all, I want to target the link. I'm going to say hero content. I'll paste that right here. I'll target the link. I'm going to give this link a background color of white. A display of flex. I want the items inside the link to be arranged horizontally. So I'll say display of flex. Align items center to align them vertically center. And it's going to have a width of 230 pixels. Let's check it out. Yeah, we can see the link right here. Now next, I want to add a padding to this link right here. And I want a space between these explore features and this icon right here. So I'm going to add a justify content space between. So I'm going to say I want a padding. Top and bottom, I want it to be 8 pixels. And left and right, I want it to be 6 pixels. Then I'm going to add a justify content. Now say space between. It's going to add a space between the items of the link. And you can see that we now have a space between the items of the link. The explore features text at the left hand side while the icon is at the right hand side. Now next, we're going to start styling the content of the link. This explore features text and this icon right here. So we are going to give them a class name. So I'm going to head to my index.html file. For this one, I'm going to give it a class name. I'll say icon circle. Then for this one, I'm going to say link text. So inside my style of CSS file, I'm going to copy this right here. Now I want to target the text in there. So I'll say .link text. That's the text inside this anchor tag. First of all, I'll give it a color of #111. That's a black color. Then a font size of 1.2 then a font weight of 600. Font weight, I'll say 600. I'll save that. And you can see the text is actually looking good, but we've not removed the underline from this text. So I'm just going to go up here and I'm going to say text decoration. Now instead of repeating this, what you are going to do is that you are going to create a general class. So up here in this code, we're just going to add a anchor tag. Then we're going to say for all the anchor tags we're going to make use for this website, we want it to have a text decoration of none. That way we don't have to repeat this code. So I don't have to repeat that here. So I'll just get rid of this one I added for our navigation links. Then I don't have to add it again. And when I save that, I'm going to notice that all the anchor tag in the web page don't have an underline to them. And this is actually cleaner. That way you don't have to repeat yourself. Be adding text decoration not to every anchor tag you add to your web page. Now I'm basically done with styling this explore text. Let's style this icon right here. So I'm going to target that icon. I'm going to copy this right here. I'll paste that underneath this one. Then I'll say dot icon circle. That's that icon circle class we added to our icon span. This icon span right here, this span tag right here. Okay, then we're going to style that up. First, we want it to have a background color of this hex color right here, #005F73. I want it to have a text color of white, a width of 40 pixels, a height of 40 pixels. I'll save that. And you can see that we have our icon right here looking better, but I want it to be circular and I want this icon to be at the center. So to make it circular, I'm going to give it a border radius. Say border radius, now use 50%. Now that border radius of 50% is going to ensure that our icon container is actually circular. Now we want the icon to be at the center. So a neat trick to actually do this is that we are going to give this container, this icon container, a display. I'll say grid. Then I want to place the items inside this container. Place items, I'll say center. And that's going to ensure that all the items inside this span container are going to be centered. Right here, you can see it's at the center. Now next, we have to apply a border radius to this anchor tag. So for the anchor tag, I'm going to give it a border radius. I'll say 30 pixels. Yeah, this is way better. But this explore text is too close to the left right here. So I'm going to give it a padding left. So for the explore text, I'm going to say padding left. Padding left. I'll just give it 5 pixels. This is way better. Now we are basically done. The last thing I'm going to work on is that when we hover on this call to action button, we want it to apply a cool expand transition. It's going to expand a bit to show that a user is hovering over this call to action button. Now to do that, I'm going to copy this right here. I'll paste that underneath here. I'm going to add a hover pseudo class to it. Now on hover of this, I want it to have a width of 250 pixels. Now when someone hovers on it, the width is going to increase from 230 pixels to 250 pixels. Now to make this hover effect more smooth, you have to add a transition to it. So I'm going to go back to the code. I'm going to go up to my anchor tag. So I'm going to say transition. I want to apply a transition to the width property. Width 0.5 seconds is in out. I'll save that. Coming back to the web page, when I hover on this link, you can see that cool transition right here. Now I'm basically done building this website. Now if you enjoyed this video, smash on the like button and leave a comment below. It's really going to help the channel a lot, and basically think of it of a little way of you supporting the channel. And lastly, if you've not subscribed, ensure you do that and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss out on helpful web development tutorials like this. I'll see you in the next video.